This is editing Gremblo. If you guys are watching this the day that I uploaded the video, then War 108 just started, and if you're interested in joining the Gremlins, click on the Discord link in the description below and post a screenshot of your F1 screen in-game to the Foxhole chat channel. We'll be fighting for the Colonials on the Able Shard. Hope to see you guys there. Okay, bye. So I've had some of you ask for this in the past, and I'm finally getting around to making this series of videos. I'll be creating a series of new player-friendly guides for different parts of Foxhole. The first guide pertaining to infantry. I have other guides planned, and they'll be in the following order: a tank guide, a logistical guide, and a final guide, which is super unique because I haven't seen anyone else really cover it yet. So stick around for those coming up in the near future. While this video is geared to new players, I'll be covering some more intermediate and advanced topics throughout the video. I'm sure you'll learn something new, and if there's something I didn't cover that you think is worth mentioning, put a comment down below so that the new players can read through your tips as well. And with that, let's get started. The video is going to be broken up in several categories. I'll go over each category here and provide timestamps in case you want to jump around. We're going to start off with deployment. For new players, it may be difficult to find where people are fighting. Luckily, the game makes it pretty easy to find a front that could use the manpower. Here are some easy steps for you to remember. Step 1, walk over to the deployment zone. Step 2, take a look at the map and focus on the areas that have flashing squares. Those require reinforcements. Step 3, pick a deployment spot that is closest to a blue portion of the front if you're a colonial, or green if you're warden. That spawn will guarantee a shorter walking distance to a fight. And step 4, press the flashing icon and you should be set to deploy. Here's a tip to remember: you have a limited number of redeploys available before the game puts you on a cooldown. You have about 3 redeploys available before that happens, and that cooldown usually lasts a couple minutes. So now that you've deployed to a front, let's discuss some of the infantry rules you can engage in. I'll show some screenshots of the kits you would typically want to take based on the specific role being discussed. Keep in mind, I'm on the colonial faction, so wardens, you'll want to use your equivalent tech if applicable, and this is just my opinion. Everyone has a different way of playing the game. First is a basic infantry frontline soldier whose kit consists of the following: 1 rifle, 3 clips, 1 will be loaded into the rifle and you'll have 2 spares, 1 bandage, a grenade of your choice, likely a bomb stone for anti-infantry, or a sticky white ash grenade if you see it tanks, 1 gas mask with 1 or 2 filters, the basic infantry uniform which you already spawn with, and 1 bayonet. Don't skip out on the bayonet, we'll touch on that later in the video under advanced tactics. You can also skip out on the rifle and pick any other gun that you prefer, it's just in that case you wouldn't be bringing the bayonet. As a basic frontline soldier, your job is to push the front or hold the front depending on the situation for your faction. Super basic and high level, I know, but let's talk about how you can be effective in this role. First, when it comes to holding, make sure you're in a trench or somewhere behind cover. You can tell you're behind cover based off of the shield icon at the bottom of your screen there. The more filled up that shield is, the more cover and more bonus you have when it comes to aiming. Additionally, pick weapons like the Katara or the Dusk for the Colonials, or the Malone and Fiddler for the Wardens. These are essential guns for holding ground and for dispersing rounds downrange, hitting multiple enemies. Next is pushing. The more people you have pushing with you, the more successful the push will be, but ultimately it also comes down to how you push. The best way to push is to outflank your enemy. If you see your enemy hunkered down in a trench or a bunker piece, it may not be the best idea to charge right at them and get killed by gunfire. Instead, consider going around them and hitting them from behind or the sides. Surprise is the key here when you're flanking. And lastly, supporting armor. Your tank drivers and gunners are going to love you. If they have infantry on either sides of them, never in front and never behind. Stick to the left and right side of the tanks, move up with them in a cohesive unit, and you'll have tanks providing cover against anti-infantry emplacements, and you'll be providing cover for the tanks against enemy infantry. The frontline soldier also has a number of different variants aside from the basic kit we just went over. One such variant is the anti-tank or AT soldier, whose kit consists of the following: 1 rocket launcher, could be a Venom or a Bane, choice is yours, doesn't matter what kind. Enough rockets before you reach 100% encumbrance, usually 2 rockets, 1 pistol with a spare mag, 1 bandage, 1 gas mask with 1 or 2 filters, and a basic infantry uniform. The AT soldier will fight alongside the frontline infantry, whose sole purpose is to focus on enemy tanks. Don't waste your precious ammo on infantry, that's the whole point of having other friendlies near you. The AT soldier is essential to defend trench lines and chokes from oncoming enemy armor. Next we have the medic, whose kit consists of the following: 1 trauma kit, 1 pistol with spare mags, 1 first aid kit, 1 gas mask with 2 filters, and the medical fatigues. You'll also want to fill your infantry up with spare blood plasma and bandages to continue to heal friendlies on the front. Starting off, I would carry 1 stack, which consists of 5 blood plasma and 5 bandages, and move up to 2 stacks when you feel more comfortable with the role. Medics need to stay close to multiple allies to avoid getting ganked from the enemy. When you see somebody on the ground, your only focus should be to pick them up when it's safe. If you need help from other infantrymen, ask for covering fire or for them to push up with you to increase your chances of picking up your fallen comrade. If you're not picking up fallen soldiers, you'll be standing around your allies and patching them up. There are other uses for medics such as ambulance driving and harvesting wounded soldiers and taking them to a player-built hospital, which is also known as ambulance driving. While the medic role is simple and straightforward, it's an essential part for any fighting force. Next, we have the engineer, and the engineer's kit consists of a few different options depending on what your goal is. I'll go over each kit starting with your simple frontline pillbox or watchtower builder. This kit consists of a hammer, as many BMATs as you can carry, and the engineer fatigues. Starting with watchtowers, these cost 60 BMATs and provide a vision for friendly forces. These are super useful to spot possible enemy flanking missions, partisans, and structures, just to name a few. These should be built with a slight overlap from the nearest watchtower for maximum coverage. Pillboxes are super useful in the early war. They provide good protection for friendly infantry, and when AI is enabled, they can protect vital roads and bases from enemy infantry. When placing pillboxes, it's important to note that structures, natural landscapes, and even vehicles can obscure their line of sight and prevent them from firing on enemy infantry. I've seen plenty of players build a pillbox only for another player to just drive a truck right in front of it and leave it there. Whatever you do, don't be that kind of player. If you happen to see a truck in front of a friendly pillbox, take the extra step and move it out of the way so that there's clear line of sight. Who knows, by doing that, you could have prevented the enemy from capitalizing on a chink in your defensive line. That also goes for bunker emplacements as well, like the MG and rifle garrison. Those also have line of sight, and if a vehicle is blocking that, enemies can take advantage of that and lob mammons onto those bunker pieces. The next kit an engineer would utilize will probably get me crucified by a lot of the other regiments.
Just wanted to build a dope-ass trench network.
But that would be the role of a trench digger. For this, you'll mainly need a shovel, but it'd be good to stock up on some BMATs as well. You'll also want to have the engineer fatigues on you. Trenches are needed to provide a defensive line and secure ground that's been taken by your faction. If one side is running across no man's land and continues to push the enemy back to their relic base, the enemy could potentially gather enough strength and counterattack, pushing you all the way back to your relic base. In simple terms, World War I showed us the necessity of trench warfare. Now, building trenches in Foxhole is considered a controversial topic, but if you follow these steps, build them with purpose, and tell the officer who's yelling at you for being an alt to cry about it on Reddit, you should be fine. When building trenches, it's important to keep them small, starting with an entry trench on your side of the front line. I'll provide a few different designs on screen here for useful trenches, but when it comes to building these trenches, it's up to you and the situation you're dealing with on the front line. Most builders will stop here or move on to another network of trenches, but whatever you do, you have to fight that urge. There are several other enhancements you can add to your trench line to make it more formidable, such as sandbags and barbed wire, for example. If the enemy were to take your trench line, placing sandbags closest to your side of the front would prevent the enemy faction from using that trench to shoot back at you. Additionally, putting barbed wire on the side facing the enemy would greatly reduce their ability to take the trench. It would also make it easier to defend the trench from the enemy. To make your trench even more impressive, consider adding bunker pieces in between crossing intersections. These would provide shelter from enemy frag or bomb stones. To close out the section, get creative when it comes to building trenches. The game offers you many different ways to help your side secure a foothold on the battlefield. Use your imagination and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That covers everything for frontline engineers. Let's move on to some advanced tips, starting with weight. In Foxhole, everything you carry has weight to it. While having a bunch of grenades and ammunition may appear great to you, it does come at the cost of making you walk like Nikocado Avocado. Not to mention, if you die, you've given the enemy a care package of grenades that they'll be hucking at your buddies. Whatever you do, don't be that guy. You only need 2 or 3 grenades max. If you notice, some grenades have different weight to them. Bomb stones and gas grenades weigh less than mammons and tremolas. In addition, your fatigues can help reduce the weight of certain items. The Grenadier uniform stacks and reduces the weight of grenades, while the Warden heavy ammo fatigues stacks and reduces the encumbrance for shells, and the Engineer uniform reduces weight for BMATs. You want to use these fatigues based on the role you're playing, and it will make you a more effective fighter by reducing your weight. I don't want to go too deep into some of the other specialized roles that use these fatigues, but some to consider are the Mortarman that would benefit from using the Warden's heavy ammo fatigue. Sorry collies, you get fucked, but that's okay because you get access to the Grenadier uniform. So as a Grenadier, you can spam green ash like no tomorrow. And lastly, you have the Scout uniform for partisan activity. The Scout uniform can be good for large and small partisan forces due to the fact you have an 80% chance of not being detected by intelligence structures, like the Watchtower for example. Regardless, the name of the game as a partisan is to keep out of tower range by avoiding or blowing them up, and to camp heavily used roads. I have one last section to go over, but if you guys have made it this far into the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully this has been helpful and you learned something new. Consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, that way I know folks want to see more of these beginner-friendly videos. So the last section is how I personally play infantry on the front line. If you've been watching my channel, you know I don't go anywhere without my bayonet.
Sing, 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 sing. Say hello to my little sing, 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 sing.
Argenti is preferred, but I'll use any rifle that can accept a bayonet. As I mentioned before regarding the effect of weight, I try to play with as little weight as humanly possible. I get rid of the pistol because the bayonet is what I'll fall back on in close quarters. I get rid of my hammer because my business is killing, not building, and I only carry 2 clips of ammo, 1 in the gun and 1 extra in my inventory. I'll also bring a bandage in case somebody gets a lucky shot on me, and a grenade depending on the situation. Typically a bomb stone because they're lighter. If I'm fighting in a trench network, I use the grenade to gain space against the enemy. Their options are either to run away, run towards me, or sit on the grenade I just threw at their face. The goal here is to get an upper hand on positioning. If the enemy is moving, it'll be harder for them to shoot, but if they're stationary and either standing or crouching, they can have the upper hand on you if you're moving. The way we mitigate that advantage is with the grenade and with being as light as possible for increased movement speed. Once the enemy is either moved from where the grenade is placed or gets hit by it, I rush in and shoot or stick him with the bayonet. Let's look at another example of how I prefer to fight on the front line. Oh, watch out, watch out!
That wall of fucking rifle pills.
Go! Flanking is how you win in a stalemate. You roll the other faction up like a carpet, making them panic and lose morale. In Foxhole, teamwork is essential for success. If you have a mic, use it and organize people. Ask if anyone wants to fight together and try to coordinate. If you're up against enemy infrastructure like safe houses, bunker bases, or even tanks, organize a mammon or sticky rush and charge the enemy. And if you don't feel like organizing and leading that kind of push, and you see somebody trying to do that, join them. The more people that join somebody trying to organize a push, the more successful it will be. Overall, I like to play in the thick of the fighting, but I also stick to the outskirts of a line and try to flank the enemy if we're not making any progress. If folks are talkative and seem like a fun group, I'll try to organize a mammon or sticky rush, or even a cobbled together partisan op. However you prefer to play Foxhole, whether it's like me stabbing cunts with the bayonet, or building bases and trenches at the front, it's about having fun and enjoying yourself. And that concludes the first video in this series. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. If anyone has other tips to share, please put them down in the comment section below. Let's get this video packed full of helpful ideas for new folks to try and game. Take care everyone, I'll see you in the next one.
Man, it's 2023 and Big Dick Randy coming back. And on Halloween night, he gon' be looking for a snack. If you see that nigga coming, better run like you in track. He a big scary nigga, man, he's 7 foot and black. He don't joke around, he don't fucking play. He gon' run off with your butt and eat it up like a buffet.